Hello, dear students. I hope you're having a good time at home. My name is Dr. Wasim Mushtaq. I'm your biology teacher. Okay, and today we are going to start with the very first chapter in your book, that is transportation of food and minerals in animals. This is the first chapter in your book, transportation of food and minerals in animals. So far, maybe you have heard about the transportation in plants, you have heard about the xylem and phloem doing the transport of food and minerals in plants. But in animals, like in human beings, we do not have the sport of xylem and phloem. There is something different and different from the plant's perspective. Okay, actually, the food we eat, have you ever wondered how the food that we eat digested by the alimentary canal, okay, thereafter it gets broken down into glucose, and the glucose is supplied to the different parts of the body. How? The oxygen we breathe in reaches every cell of our body. How? Okay, and the production of the waste products by our body, how they are produced or stored and then eliminated from our body. All these processes require a transport system in a human body, and that transport system is called as the circulatory system. And circulatory system, in the circulatory system, we shall discuss about the blood vessels, and the lymphatic system. Okay, so what is blood? You see that we know that whenever we any part of body has a minor or a major cut, blood comes out. So it appears red in color. The red color of the blood is because of iron protein there called the hemoglobin. Anyway, blood is basically composed of two things. It has two components: the liquid part, which is called as the blood plasma, and the cells. Cells are also there. We call them as corpuscles, and there are three kinds of cells: corpuscles, RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. First, we shall discuss the liquid part. The liquid part in the blood is called as the plasma. It's actually the blood plasma which gives the fluid character to the blood. This plasma is made up of it is made up of about 90 to 98% pure water. Okay, and then the remaining 2 to 8%, it has some proteins, some waste products, and other things there. Okay, so blood has two components. The liquid part is called as plasma, and then there are the corpuscles or the cells, and there are three kinds of cells: RBCs or red blood cells, or we call them as erythrocytes, then WBCs, white blood cells or leukocytes, and platelets or thrombocytes. So let's first talk about the RBCs. RBCs, they appear biconcave in shape, biconcave in shape like this. When pressed from all the sides, they appear biconcave in shape, and they do not have a nucleus. The RBCs, red blood cells, they do not have a nucleus, and their function, actually they contain a protein called hemoglobin. So the function of the RBCs is to transport the blood from the is to transport the blood, to transport the oxygenated blood, oxygen rich blood, to the different parts of the body. Because the RBC, as I told you, it has an affinity to bind with a protein called hemoglobin, and that hemoglobin can bind with the oxygen. So this is how oxygen gets transported throughout our body. And the RBCs have a lifespan of 3 to 4 months. Like every cell in our body, they do have a definite lifespan, and after their lifespan is over, they die, they are shed off. Okay, so RBCs, they have a lifespan of 3 to 4 months, and the number is about 5 to 6 million in 1 cubic millimeter of the blood. So in 1 cubic millimeter of blood, you can find about 5 to 6 million RBCs. All right, the next in the line is the WBCs, or the white blood cells. White blood cells, they are so important because they help us in fighting against the infections. They help us in fighting against the infections, and they have nucleus. So we call them as nucleated cells. These are the only nucleated cells in the blood. Remember, WBCs are the only cells present in the blood which have a nucleus. RBCs and platelets, they're absent of nucleus. They do not have a nucleus. But WBCs, white blood cells, they have nucleus, so we call them as nucleated. Actually, there are two kinds of the WBCs: granulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes are those WBCs that have the granules inside them, and they are the three kinds. N for neutrophils, B for basionophils, and E for eosinophils. So neutrophils, basionophils, and eosinophils are the granulocytes, WBCs. Second kind is the agranulocytes. They do not have a granule. They are agranulated, and there are two kinds: lymphocytes and monocytes. So the function of the WBCs is they help us in fighting against the infections, and their number varies from 4,000 to 14,000 in 1 cubic millimeter of the blood, and their lifespan is about 2 weeks. Okay, next kind is the platelets. Blood platelets or thrombocytes. Their lifespan is about 1 week, and they do not have any definite shape. They do not have any definite shape, or but usually they appear oval in shape. But they do not have any definite shape. Blood platelets, they have a lifespan of a maximum 1 week. Means they cannot live for more than 1 week, and they are important. They are important in the they are important because they help us heal. They help us heal whenever there is a cut in our body anywhere. It's actually the thrombocytes or the blood platelets that help in the healing process. That help in the healing process. Okay, now the functions of the blood. Let's talk about the functions of the blood. Blood has numerous functions. The most important ones we discussed already, because WBC is present, RBC is present in them, help in the transport of oxygen throughout our body. The WBC is present there, help us fight against the infections. And blood platelets, they help us in the they have a protein called a fibrinogen, which helps to make the which helps in the clotting of the blood. So functions of the blood: transport of oxygen, fight against the infections, and number third, clotting of the blood whenever we have any cut or something. Okay, the other functions of the blood are, now first, they help in maintaining the pH. pH is the concentration of the H positive ions, so they help us in maintaining the pH. The blood also helps us in maintaining the homeostasis. Homeostasis is the it helps in maintaining the environment, the usual environment. Whenever there are any fluctuations, for example, nowadays it is summers, it's very hot and humid, we are sweating continuously. Okay, and this sweating helps us in cooling our body. Okay, so we can say that the blood also helps in maintaining the pH. It helps in regulating our body temperature or homeostasis. Anyway, and there are three kinds of blood vessels. The transport system we are talking about, the circulatory system, it comprises of three kinds of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries are those blood vessels which carry the oxygenated blood from the heart to the different parts of the body. Okay, the exception is the pulmonary artery, which carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Okay, and number second is the veins. Veins are those blood vessels which carry the deoxygenated blood from the different parts of the body back to the heart. Okay, and here the exception is the pulmonary vein, because the pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. And number third is the capillaries. Capillaries are the connecting links between the arteries and the veins. Okay, the walls of the arteries are thick because they have to pump blood to all the parts of the body, and capillaries have the thinnest walls among these three. So arteries, veins, and capillaries are three kinds of blood vessels present in the human body. Okay, now let's talk about the structure of the heart and how blood is transported to the different parts of the body. Actually, if you have a look at the human heart, it is four-chambered heart. 1, 2, 3, 4. Four-chambered heart. The upper two chambers are called as auricles, auricles, auricles or atria, and the lower two chambers are called as ventricles. Okay, and the left and the right side, they're divided by a septum between them. There is a muscular septum that is dividing the heart into the left and the right side. So here the upper two chambers are called as auricles and the lower two chambers are called as the ventricles. So how is blood transported or pumped by the heart? Let's have a look. Actually, there are two veins, superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Superior vena cava carries deoxygenated blood from the superior body parts, that is head, neck, shoulders, chest, etc. So superior vena cava carries deoxygenated blood from the superior body parts to the right auricle, and the inferior vena cava carries deoxygenated blood from the lower body parts, that's lungs, abdomen, to the right auricle, and from the right auricle the blood passes to the right ventricle. There is actually a valve here called the bicuspid valve. The bicuspid valve is present between the right auricle and the right ventricle, through which the blood passes from the right auricle to the right ventricle. And from the right ventricle, the blood is pumped through the pulmonary artery to the lungs. Okay, so the deoxygenated blood is pumped by the right ventricle to the lungs by the pulmonary artery. And what happens in the lungs? In the lungs, the exchange of gases takes place. Means the carbon dioxide present in the blood leaves the lungs, okay, and the oxygen enters the lungs, and the oxygen enters this lungs. And now this oxygenated blood is brought by the pulmonary veins, to the left auricle. So we can say that in the right side of the heart, deoxygenated blood is present, and in the left side of the heart, oxygenated blood is present. Anyway, so the pulmonary vein brings the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left auricle, and from the left auricle through the tricuspid valve, the blood is pumped from the left auricle to the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle, the blood is pumped by the main artery called the aorta. Aorta carries the oxygenated blood to all the parts of the body. What happens in all the parts of the body? Respiration takes place. And what happens during respiration? Oxygen is used to break down the food. And what is produced? Carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide is brought by the vena cava, superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, back to the right auricle, and thus the cycle continues. Now you see there are two kinds of circulation. The first circulation is between the heart and the lungs. This is called as pulmonary circulation, and another circulation is between the heart and the different body parts. That is called as systemic circulation, and together the pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation are called as the double circulation. Now there's one more thing called RH factor. RH factor is actually an antigen. If we will talk about the blood transfusion, suppose how do we say that somebody has A blood group or B blood group or O blood group? Actually, there is an antigen present on the plasma membrane of RBC. This is an RBC. Here is the plasma membrane. Okay. If A antigen is present here, the blood group is A. Okay. And if B antigen is present here, the blood group is B. And if there is no antigen present here, the blood group is O. Okay. So A antigen. What is antigen? Antigen is a protein. So if A protein is present on the plasma membrane of RBC, the blood group is A. If B protein is present on the plasma membrane of RBC, the blood group is B. And if there is no A or B protein present on the RBC, the blood group is O. There is one more thing called the RH factor. If RH factor is present on the RBC, the blood group becomes RH positive. Okay, and in case of the B blood group, if the RH factor was not present here, the blood group was simply B. But if RH factor is present here, the blood group becomes B positive. Okay, now let's talk about the blood transfusion. Blood transfusion is always from between the similar blood groups. For example, A person can donate blood only to A person or AB person, or A person or AB person. Actually, AB blood group is the universal acceptor, because AB blood group can receive blood from all the A blood group, B blood group, O blood group persons. Okay, let me explain you. We are talking about the blood transfusions. Okay, A person can give blood to AB. Okay, this is A blood group, and B blood group can give blood to B and AB. Okay, and O blood group can give blood only to O and AB, and AB blood group person can give blood only to AB. So we can say that AB person can receive blood from any of the blood types. So we can say that AB is the universal acceptor, And since